and gentlemen, welcome our panelists to the stage!
Woo-hoo. Awesome. How's everybody doing? Let's try that again. First off, you all look so amazing. It's so great to see all of you. I love energy. So let me ask again, how are you doing? I love it. Amazing, amazing, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so pumped to be here. I can't believe it's Futurist again. Like it's so crazy, but I'm so pumped and so excited. We have an amazing panel, amazing conversation happening today. For those that are hearing my voice for the very first time, my name is Ashley Wright. Been in the space since 2016, fell in love with it. And really focused on being an educator in this space, but most importantly, I'm all about diversity in the space as well. So the founder of Femtech, previously known as Crypto Babes. We've been able to do a lot of really great activations across the globe, helping more women become developers, leaders in the space. And then, yeah, I'm really just pumped and excited for this conversation. But before we dive in, I want to make sure all of our amazing panelists have an opportunity to showcase and highlight themselves. So I'll pass it over to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Justina Sovska, and I'm the founder of Women in Blockchain Canada. And I guess to give you a little bit of an introduction about myself, I started actually after Futurist. I came in, and my nonprofit started because a lot of people were like, can you bring more women into this space? And I said, why not? And I had a lot of support after the conference. Actually, I see some of the support in the crowd. So Shayla Ray and Amina, you know who you are. And ended up hosting an event in Ottawa, and we're sold out and kept growing the community since then. And now we've moved on to research, and we want to continue to get more women in the space. So I'll pass it over here.
Awesome. I'm Laura Scarlett Martin, and I am a venture partner with a number of startups, both in AI and Web3. Some of them are prop tech, some of them are sustainability on blockchain, some of them are like DeFi. So I'm really passionate about helping underrepresented founders to raise capital and to scale their businesses so that we can have a larger impact on the economy and diminish the wealth gap. So that's really what I'm all about. I have an 18-year career in real estate finance, so you'll hear me talk about things more related to DeFi.
Hi everyone, I'm Tina Nemaat. I'm Chief Marketing Officer of SilentSwap. SilentSwap is actually like a privacy cross-chain aggregator. So we're bringing privacy to on-chain transactions, which gets me really excited because I was looking for something that's not just another copy pasta, but it solves a problem in the space that we have. And privacy seems to be a very big problem, especially for businesses and institutions that are trying to scale using the blockchain technology. So we're happy to provide those solutions. But I've been in the crypto space since 2017. I actually do come from the TradFi world as well. So, but it was honestly very quick coming fresh out of college to realize that the TradFi world and every other industry was really tapped out. So for somebody young who's looking for new opportunities, crypto and the blockchain seemed like a gold mine of opportunities to me. It got me super excited, and I wanted to learn more about the space, user behavior, platforms, and truly find what's lacking. So I'm super excited to be working with the SilentSwap team right now and to be speaking with these amazing panelists today.
I have a slightly different path to crypto. I was a federal prosecutor for the U.S. Department of Justice for nearly a decade, a money laundering prosecutor who caught a crypto case in 2012 and thought Bitcoin wasn't real, and then had to learn because it was indeed real and was indeed being laundered. And then I left in 2020 and went to be the chief of legal affairs for a blockchain analytics company called Chainalysis. And while I was at Chainalysis, I, like Tracy, met hundreds of women who were doing incredible things at so many companies, but you didn't see them anywhere at all. And it was like the same 5 women, wonderful women that you heard the press and the media and you saw them over and over and over, but the other 1,000 women you never saw. And so we started this Women in Crypto speaker series, and our first one, I think, had like 1,300 people who came, and I think 200 women to our little janky GatherTown virtual networking during COVID, and it was amazing. And there were people at midnight in their pajamas, and I was like, this is a thing. We should start a nonprofit. And my boss was like, we are a for-profit. And so I was like, well, we're gonna have to fix that. So after I left, I started it in October 2022. 2, a month before FTX and the crypto winter. And we are a professional networking association for women and supportive allies. We have lots of male members, some of whom have signed the Male Ally Pledge and are here, you fabulous people. And we have an Unmantle Your Panel initiative. So we are a professional networking association that is also a gender advocacy group that is working actively to make the industry more inclusive to women. So we are not just in women events, we are on front stages, we are headlining, we are in the media, we are everywhere in the industry, which is actually harder than you think.
Amazing. I know this is not one of the questions yet, but isn't it interesting just to hear how everyone has a different path into the space? And it's exciting. By the way, that story is very interesting. But I love it. I love it. So obviously we're going to dive right in. And actually the first question was, how did you really get into the space? But of course, we kind of dived into that. But obviously the conversation is very much highlighting diversity in women in the industry. So I'm curious for you guys to kind of share, why do you think it's important for women to not only be in the space, but also have a seat at the table? Because I think we can for sure see that there are women in the industry, but why is it also important for us to be behind the decisions that are being made or how things are being done? And so I'm going to pass this to Amanda.
Oh, I love how you looked away and it was like a sneak attack. It's like, okay. I think this is kind of what we always think about at the association because, and I'm going to pick on him just because he's easy to pick on. But in 2023, Brian Armstrong at Coinbase on International Women's Day posted a now very memorable photo of him and I think 7 or 8 of his pals from CEOs, C-suite executives from other crypto companies who were building back better in terms of the future of the crypto economy. And when he posted the photo and there wasn't a single woman in the room, people were like, are you building back better or are you building exactly what TradFi built, which was a system built by men for men? And let me be clear, there also weren't any people of color in the photo. One was questionable, so I'm going to put a little asterisk because it was hard to tell from the picture, but most people I talked to were like, nope, just a room full of white men. And there's nothing wrong with a room full of white men, right? We've had that for thousands of years. But when you think about the fact that we are building the future of digital finance, maybe if you want better, you get different voices and you get people who just maybe represent different viewpoints, which could be disabled, gay white men. We just need to think about inclusion differently and having different voices in the room. So while we're a gender advocacy group, we work with groups like WebQ, Black Women in Blockchain. There's lots of groups that are just saying, if you're going to build the future of digital finance, the thing about Brian's photo that was depressing is everybody was like, well, but Emily runs the company. There's lots of women in power at Coinbase. Yes, but who was in the room when it happened, when they were talking about building the future? Who is in the room with Congress people? Who is in the room with regulators? Who is in the room when we're deciding how the rails get built? And to answer your really good question, if it's just one group, regardless of which group it is, even if it was a group of all women, which is why we are not all women, you need different voices. And I think that's what we're trying to do. And historically, women have been excluded from finance in ways that were terrifying. So the idea that women would again not be at the table in digital finance is just too heartbreaking to take lying down. So I think that's why there's a little bit more militance this time around to say, no, now we have the right to vote, we have the right to speak, we can own our own bank accounts, we're in a position where we can fight and take a seat at the table. And I think that's what a lot of us want to do.
Honestly,
So,
just to go ahead. I just was going to piggyback off of what you said because I think you did set the foundation, greatly. But I think that's why it's important to have these conversations and to lead these conversations and to highlight the women that we do have in the space. Because you're right, Coinbase might have somebody in the back end or somebody who's not getting highlighted. But for me personally, like you said, I feel like finance. I come from the finance world, but tech, finance, even VC funding, all that stuff has usually been male dominated. But I feel like with crypto, it's even it takes it up a notch because it's newer, it's still not mature, So I feel like you even feel it more. So we do need to have these conversations to highlight because personally, I never felt oppressed or not welcome in the space, to be honest. It's a very good community of people, no matter what blockchain or which community I've entered. They've usually been very supportive. But I think it's about maybe helping the women that are on the sidelines feeling a bit intimidated because they don't know what's going on in the backgrounds. They don't know that there's more more of us out there now. So for me personally, I think of like the first Twitter space or the first panel that I joined. It was all men. I was the only girl. So that might feel intimidating at first, but it also like making yourself do that and making sure we have these conversations also allows more women to feel like this is an inviting space for them.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys know some of these statistics. I'm just gonna let you know that 85% of household decisions are made by females, okay? 85% of household spending is made by females, and you're telling me they're not gonna be at the table? I mean, that sounds crazy to me. And also something else that I would like to share is that, you know, there's other burdens for women at work, you know what I mean? So like, them having to take care of kids and other things has before stopped them from being able to be at specific places. Now we're in a digital world. It's easier for women to be there. So I see like, you know, at this point we're at a stage of no excuses. So I like to say that basically also with AI, right, we have biases because if women aren't involved from get-go and building things, you're gonna have an inherent bias. So I think with that being said, all in all, women need to be present. If we're building a future for everybody and we're gonna be, at the end, the consumers of that future, we need to be involved from the beginning. And also because of the biases that are created. One other thing I'd like to add is there's a McKinsey study that showed that companies that had more diversity actually had a better bottom line. So it's not just because, okay, diversity and inclusion is nice, but hey, you know what? There's studies done on this. There's proof that if you have more women at the table, you're going to make more money anyway. It's possible. I think I'd like to be not this or that, but this and that kind of world where we put things together and we say, hey, we're building a future for everybody.
Hell yeah. Yes. Not only that, but women have 63% higher exit values as female founders. So I think a lot of women out here may not come from a highly technical background, but in that case, that would describe me at least. And that doesn't mean that you can't still be a builder. I think it's more about your vision. And in terms of decentralized finance, I think that the whole purpose of that is to remove the traditional gatekeepers that are the brokers and the lenders and the bankers, and to dismantle that. And it would be a damn shame if we continued to have these gatekeepers in the form of the same types of people that have traditionally benefited from financial systems to continue to reap that benefit. There's 1.7 billion people that are unbanked. And this is going to massively provide opportunities for them to be able to participate in decentralized exchanges and get rid of these gatekeepers that are taking these remittance fees from their moving money around. So this is so crucial that even in the developing world that we're giving women globally this leg up so that they could have more financial opportunity and stability.
Can I add one thing? We talk a lot about the opportunity for crypto in underdeveloped countries, but we don't actually talk about the fact that in the United States, it was less than 50 years ago that women weren't allowed to own their own bank account without their husband signing for it. People really forget that. And I think one of the things that we don't talk about enough is that, ironically, this technology comes with a massive amount of autonomy, which women are we are the ones who need that. When white men, or men generally, but especially white men, get up and they're like, I like having my own money because I'm afraid my bank's going to take away my money. I'm like, when has your bank ever taken away your money, bro? Like, when have you ever, like, this is a concern that you run around with all day? Really? Like, it's just an interesting dynamic that the people who should be most invested in this technology from a rights and liberty and autonomy perspective are sometimes the people who are kept most out of it or who are not included. And then the people who are so passionate about it, great, but it's not out of need. It's certainly not out of need, it's out of love. And I think we don't talk about how in first world countries, we have not had a great history of autonomy over finances. And now, comes with double-edged swords, but you have a massive amount of financial autonomy, and to not have women in that conversation, whether they're in Kenya, whether they're in Afghanistan, whether they're in Venezuela, or whether they're in Paducah, Kentucky, we need to have a conversation about the power of financial autonomy, women finally having that.
Amazing. That's so powerful. So unfortunately, we don't have tons of time left, but obviously we're talking about this space. There's a lot of exciting things that are going on, but I want to, and I feel like I have to ask, right? There's so much exciting stuff going on in this space, so I want to know, just real quick, what is maybe one trend that's happening in the industry that just has you really, really, really excited? And let's actually just start with Justina and kind of go that way.
Well, for me, I feel like there's so many, but the two things that I'm, focused on right now is the intersection between blockchain and AI. I think it's going to be absolutely huge, and I think there's just so much potential and growth in there. And also real-world assets. I feel like finally we are onboarding all these Web2 companies because for them it's more tangible to understand RWA.
Awesome. I'm really excited about the tokenization of real estate assets and making that more accessible in general, as well as putting land titles onto the blockchain. I know that's going to be more difficult in Canada, but again, for developing nations, having that proof of ownership will prove to be the most groundbreaking and important development for them.
I touched on this in the beginning as well, but I'm super excited about the privacy narrative that's happening in the space because I feel like the transparency of the blockchain as we love it is a double-edged sword. So we need to figure out some ways to make businesses be able to have a competitive advantage, again, having privacy to their on-chain transaction, but also for retail. You would not post your bank statements online right now for the whole world to see, right? So why are we okay with our crypto transactions being fully public? So I'm excited to kind of be in that space and work towards providing solutions for users.
Higher penalties for parole violators, Stan. Sorry, but I love everyone who got that joke. But in all seriousness, I will say, I love that we're saying privacy and that we've moved away from anonymity. And I like that a lot of the industry, I think, is starting to begin to understand the difference in that and how unsustainable advocacy for anonymity was and how important it is to note the difference between privacy and anonymity. And one of those things is a long-term sustainable goal, and the other is just crazy. So, yeah.
I love that. A lot of you touched on some of my favorite areas as well, like the tokenization piece, the digital assets. But I think one area too that I didn't hear just yet would be digital identity. Actually, I think there's a lot of opportunity there, kind of playing off the privacy piece, being able to have control over what data you do want to share or not share, or being able to monetize the data that you decide to share, right? And be able to get a royalty off of some of that information as well. So there's a lot of exciting trends. The space is moving so quickly. There's a lot of excitement, of course. But I think we made it very clear that it's important to not only just get involved, but also to really make a difference in the space and do something that motivates you, that excites you, so that you can really change the industry as well. So also, before we go, just let everyone know where we can find you. Maybe we'll start with you, Amanda.
Well, at 3 p.m., I'll be with Annalise Osborne at the little book signing booth out there. And otherwise, I'm a digital nomad, so find me on LinkedIn.
You can find me on Twitter as TintinJPEG, or I'll be downstairs at the SilentSwap booth, right by the door. So come say hi.
LinkedIn power user, definitely find me on LinkedIn. I would love to connect. As well, I do stand-up comedy, so if you want to have a laugh, at Laura Scarlett, SCARLIT, on Instagram.
And you can find me on Twitter as @WomanBlockchain, and I'm also an avid LinkedIn user, so hope to connect with you there as well.
So you can find me on all social media platforms at The Right Success. You'll also find me at Femtech's event for women that's happening on Thursday, which is going to be really great. So definitely don't miss that. And then I also do work with Consensus and CoinDesk as well, so you'll find me there. Please give a quick round of applause for our amazing panelists. Amazing. But one more thing before we end off, and for those that have seen me at events, hear me speak, I always do this. If you can just repeat after me for all the women in the room. I'm strong.
I'm strong.
I'm beautiful.
I'm beautiful.
I'm a queen.
I'm a queen.
Now, I want you to say it one more time, but I want you to pretend that you're saying it to maybe even your younger self, or you're reminding yourself of exactly what it is that you're saying. So one more time, I'm strong.
I'm strong.
I'm beautiful.
I'm beautiful.
I'm a queen.
I'm a queen.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, one more big round of applause for Ashley.
send the entire panel here up on stage. Thank you so much, Ashley, for being our moderator.